Hello, everyone. This is Todd Talks. I am joined by WebDM's Jim Davis, and today we're talking about the Artificer, which just released officially today in the new Eberron setting. First time that Eberron has ever been official to 5th edition, really, with rising from the last war, and we have many emotions.
We do.
I'm super glad that we have another setting in D&D. D&D has so many fantastic settings to like choose from and to like delve into when it comes to story and flavor that having Eberron in there now makes me extremely happy.
I really like it. I think it pairs well with Ravnica from earlier this year, and it's a, for me it was like Eberron was the first setting that I encountered as a newly returned D&D fan in the days of 3rd edition, or I guess newly born in that sense, where I was like, I get it. This is D&D in an action-packed kind of way. There was like the action dice and the dragon marks that you could add on top of everything else, and so I'm happy to see it. I'm glad that it's been unleashed, and we can play with it now officially, I guess.
Because Forgotten Realms is I would say very sort of Tolkien generalist Western mythology, medieval fantasy, and I think that will always get a little long in the tooth eventually for everyone. Eberron is that steampunk, and it's something that we've grown up with, certainly with video games, especially when you look at the Thief series, or Dishonored, which is very similar to the Thief series. We've seen so much. It's not always even steampunk. I don't know if steampunk's even that word. It's just that merging of technology with magic. Eventually,
it's more modern, certainly. Like when I think of it as like, there's a lot of things about D&D when you're playing with people who are not like super into D&D, and that's like, in my experience, the vast majority of people. This is a thing they do once a week or every now and then, and they don't like live it like us.
Yes,
few and proud,
and us that make a living at it,
right? Yeah. And so for them, there's like a lot of modernisms that they just don't mind being in there. And for us, especially DMs and world builders, we're over here like, man, how can I make my game like more medieval and more this, and you risk like alienating the more casual beer and pretzel style player, who again are the vast majority of players, right? And like, I think that Eberron offers something for everyone. It's detailed for the world builder. It's got all these intricate parts and backstory and just like so much to chew on, in the same way that, say, Forgotten Realms does. But it's also really accessible because it's very modern. You can end up in Sharn and your character can go to a bank in a university. They might have an apartment that they live in. Like it's got a lot it's got a lot of detail. But the buy-in is much less. It's just like, it's a magical city. Instead of electricity, it's magic. Like, just, it's so easy to picture yourself adventuring there,
Yeah, that's a very, very good point. Like, this is, I mean, I'd even like go down to like the Harry Potter books, right?
Yeah.
And that kind of like regimented, like there are magical newspapers. There are newspapers in Sharn, like there are people who make their living off journalism within this kind of universe.
Right.
And you do find like you do have room to have like magical newspapers that have like moving pictures and stuff like that.
Yeah. See, and for me, it's the way that magic is incorporated. Like, it's not necessarily. And one of the, like, say, the criticism of Forgotten Realms, where there's like an archmage around every corner, every city has multiple high level characters or NPCs taking care of it. Like, what role is there for the PCs? Right. Eberron was explicitly like, listen, there's maybe no one above 6th level here. Who knows if the gods who knows if the gods exist? Like, there's all these things that you can. It invites players in, and invites dungeon masters to answer questions about the world. Who is Vol? What about aberrant marks? One of the things I like reading about Keith Baker's blog is like just his thoughts on the setting and how he runs it personally, and also like other ways he would take it. And that's what I've always loved about Eberron. It's in the same way that people talk about like the first edition Forgotten Realms, the gray box, where, for them, Forgotten Realms was a blank map. There was nothing there. This was before all the novels, before all of the popularity of it, right?
Right.
And it was a playground to play in. I feel that way about Eberron even now. It feels like a playground to have some D&D adventures in.
It's so big and can incorporate so many different concepts. It certainly has a lot. Almost in the sense you could almost call it feature creep in terms of story. But you could be in Sharn and have a very massive sprawling Coruscant like city. You can have this very high tech technology campaign if you want to, or you could be out in the Badlands and basically be a cowboy. It allows for basically every genre between 1910 and 1945. I would
certainly. And we, the trick to D&D is realizing it's a Western, not a fantasy.
I agree.
And you know what I mean? Like we're wearing tabards and chainmail, but underneath everything, it's a Western set.
Yeah.
Or
I'd argue an old samurai film, which
sure.
Deeply related.
Because you can tell if you look at, say, European RPGs and how very different they are in both their settings and the like, to compared to, say, D&D. And I feel like Eberron leans into that and goes, all right, well, if it's Western, then Western gives rise to pulp, and pulp is like that's where everything we love comes from, right? And nerd culture, it's like the origin of superheroes and all these fantasy stories that gave rise to D&D. It's like pulp is kind of where it is. Two-fisted, it's action-packed, it's intrigue, it's packed with gameable ideas. And you could trip over a campaign in sort of Eberron. And so I like I said, I would keep gushing about it if we want, but
let's dive into the Artificer. I feel like between Unearthed Arcana and now, I don't see a lot of change, and we're not going to do a side-by-side comparison.
There's just too much. Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot. We're dealing with an entirely new class. I do feel like some of this has been moved up a bit. Higher up in terms of levels for when things come online, in terms of core abilities, but really we're still seeing this same narrative. And I do like that they make the point very early on, as they did in the UA. Listen, Artificers exist all over the place. So they exist in Sigil. So if you're into Planescape, there's definitely Artificers there. And everything exists in Sigil because, well, Sigil is kind of the hub of the D&D multiverse. But Artificers exist in Krynn. They exist in Waterdeep. Like there is for the person. Every Dungeon Master has the right to decide something's not in their campaign.
Sure.
But I would argue you would have to argue back very hard to tell me that an Artificer can't fit into this.
If you're looking for a real world example, look at Archimedes, right? Like look at that, or look at some of the feats of engineering of, say, some of the earlier Chinese dynasties. They're all just like impressive. The Incans, right? Like without metal, the things that they did, it's like in that sense, there's already these incredible things that people without access to magic have done. Is it that much of a stretch of an imagination to say this one person, this one group? Like, I get it. Thematically, as DMs, we want to set limits and we want to say like, all right, this is where this is, and this is the game I want.
Right.
I really like the D&D that embraces all of it and goes like, we're come on, let's bring it all in.
I think, and that's the most exciting. That's when you look at something like Cowboy Bebop, like everyone's got like a niche that came out of or any kind of storytelling. Like I like seeing a cast of characters that makes you go, how did this happen? Yeah. Exactly. And it could be, I look at Artificers as things like maybe they're architects and things like that. Maybe their magic is not necessarily in, it mechanically you'd want to, bend some rules or reflavor some things, but maybe their magic is in creating buildings or castles or something that has magic in it. And if you're looking like the soul of the Artificer to me as a class is magic and tools. Yeah. Whereas, wizards is magic and books, sorcerers is magic and innate ability, that raw power,
artificers, tools, craft, and all that, plus magic.
Yeah, and if you want to make a bigger excuse, read Mark Twain's Connecticut Yankee and King Arthur's Court. So there's still a reason to send someone from the future.
There's a lot of really cool stuff. And I think that, whether you're creating like mechanical objects, I'm not sure if y'all can hear what's going on upstairs for us. Okay. I'm in a different location than I'm used to. Whether it's like you're creating mechanical constructs or techno mage kind of stuff that would fit with the Izzet League in Ravnica, or it's more like the ringsmiths in Middle Earth. They're artificers, right? That's artifice. That's their, So I think like it's all about the flavor here. It's all about how you look at your magic. Reading that sidebar of the magic of artifice is like, that's the first place I was, I would look to if I was going to make an artificer and be like, what does my magic really look like?
Yeah, I love that, because I fell in love with how Lord of the Rings is a very good example of that, because if anyone's going to be making the One Ring or any of the rings like Celebrimbor does, it's an artificer. And like, we don't really necessarily have that in someone's making these magical items. Okay. Someone's making these magical items wherever you are. And there aren't like significant rules for that necessarily in the Dungeon Master's Guide or for someone who's playing Wizard. I actually get kind of obsessed about that stuff. And I did in previous editions as well. Like how do these magical items get created? And there have been other versions of games that I was significantly like had a interest in. I think Amber was one of them, where you could actually give a portion of your life force to make a magical item, and you could really just go all in like Sauron did, right? Like you could just put all of yourself into a magical item and be like a husk. And I always kind of like enjoyed that. And the Artificer, I think, speaks to me about that. So but let's get to the nitty gritty, because people are probably like, we all, everyone who's watching this stream wants the art.
Right.
Yeah, guys, we know. So they all get medium armor, so studded leather armor or scale mail. Sure. Magical tinkering is still like a very boy, if cantrips weren't enough for you.
Right, like it's a super prestidigitation. Is basically what it is. I'm trying to think of some fun things you can do with it. You could probably set off a lot of weird traps in a dungeon by having something that's recorded. Like, I'm a big fan of the spell Magic Mouth. Like, there's a lot of fun. There's a lot of taunts, a lot of like smack talk that you can get up to with the enemies through Magic Mouth. It's a role playing enhancer, and so I kind of like the use of magic tinkering for that. It's just little traps and tricks. I'm thinking like a gnome that just leaves little toys around that just do weird things, and then they only work for a little while.
Yes, my wife Megan plays a character named Whittle. We play and I play Rend, who is sort of a Warforged, but kind of just a walking magical armor husk of death. But what I actually like looking at this right now, if you are a fan of The Mandalorian and have been watching that on Disney Plus, this is the best way to make a bounty hunter fob. Or the little chip that shows an image of the person you're hunting. Like, I'm just looking at this like list. Of course you can make a fart button that makes gas and makes everyone leave the room. But you can also create like a projection of like, have you seen this man? Mm-hmm. And I think that's, if you want to play a Mandalorian, a bounty hunter type character, this is a pretty cool way. This is very flavorful. I love magical tinkering, and it's at first level. You read the gate for this class, or like, this is who I am, this is what I do. And I don't know that all the classes are that way necessarily.
It really establishes the uniqueness of it, but it's compared to like an infuse item or even the spells. It's I quickly forgot about magical tinkering. I was like, oh yeah, I like it.
It's easily overlooked, but I like it for role play sake. I think you got it. It is fantastic. Infuse items. These are powerful and are still powerful.
And you get more of them.
and you get more of them. So yeah, that's starting at second level. You can start infusing your own magical items. So you are literally a class that can make magical items, and you can keep those all to yourself if you want to.
Yes,
so they've increased the number, correct? You said.
Yeah. I don't have the hard numbers in front of me. I was looking at them compared to the UA, the latest version of the UA, and I don't. It's I want to say it's the old one was like you get 2 infusions and you can make 1 item, or 3 infusions and make 2 items. Right. You get more known, but overall, I think you get 12 known and then 6 items, and then in the UA it was something like 8 known and 5 items. So it's overall it's more, and yeah, like I said, you can outfit yourself entirely with your own created items to give yourself that sweet +6 bonus later on.
Yeah, the +6 bonus to all the things. Yeah, that makes you very hard to kill in high level campaigns. Yeah, at second level you can make an alchemy jug, an arm blade, which I like very much because you're playing a warforged, 2 just one arm blade, bag of holding, cap of water breathing, goggles of night, a prosthetic limb. This is the stuff that I actually find interesting. So this is, if you lost a limb, you can replace it for role playing reasons, and have this kind of like robotic limb. I like this very much also because it's technically a magical item. So there can definitely be some interesting experimentation in terms of that. Like
certainly
using that as a actual weapon.
There's some really cool prosthetic limbs in D&D's history. My favorite is from Drow of the Underdark, where you have it's like a solid adamantine arm that you can use to break your opponent's weapon. And there have been times when I've used it on an NPC and it's like, all right, roll a save for your magic sword. I told you she had an adamantine arm.
Well, that is literally how the Dragonlance gets made. There is an also very silver arm that is used by a blacksmith to create Dragonlances.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I'm remembering.
I know. I need to do a read through because I was like, Dragonlance is weird because like they'll just like mention stuff off to the side, and NPCs that are like.
And like whenever you find out there's like a 6-book series of it that they wrote.
I'm like, what's going on with that guy? I want to know that guy's story.
I hear the animated versions are fun. But yeah, there's a ton of stuff here. And to me, the big ones are like enhanced defense at second level. Being able to create magic armor is a pretty big deal. It immediately makes me want to be like, can I play a Warforged Artificer? Or not like Warforged, but a Forged Cleric Artificer. And there's not a lot of stat overlap there, but there's a lot of flavor overlap.
I was previously playing Warforged, who was just they so believed in creation itself, like like making gears and instruments, that he was like a Forged Cleric in philosophy. He is the gear that will never stop moving.
Yeah, you could easily see an Artificer with the acolyte background as being a similar kind. The Machine God calls us.
Yeah, the Machine God. Certainly, and that's something that was actually in Thief 2, actually, the video game. So here's what's interesting about this spell list. I mean, not spell list, but list of infused items is you can be just about anybody. And if you really want to look at, like, if you want to have an Artificer that can crush someone to just dust, they can get at 10th level gauntlets of ogre power, and then at 14th level they can take the belts of hill giant strength, or you can really focus on
can you create a hammer of thunderbolts and then complete the set?
Yeah, man, I'm not seeing that. No, that was.
Oh, you got a quest for that. Come on.
Yeah, you got a quest for something.
Yeah. You kill giants in one hit.
There are some interesting things like arcane propulsion arm.
There's a lot of fun stuff.
That's super new and interesting.
And it's to me, this is like in the same way that you can create custom warlock invocations. I think you can or incantations. You can do the same with like the infused items and creating the same sort of custom stuff. I am sad to see that one pouch that you could distribute between like 5 people. I didn't see that
Oh, it's missing now.
I didn't see it.
There's a lot of chicanery that can happen because of something like that.
The boots of the winding path are still there, but I did not see the pouch of many pockets. I think
I'm not seeing it either. Yeah, you're right. It's a very good way to look at these replicatable items.
Yeah. Do certain schools of artificers teach certain infusions? Like, can you only learn repeating from certain groups of artificers? That might be how I would integrate it into the world if I was looking for a way to like really tie in the class.
But you can already right away. You can already have a returning weapon. Like you could have your Thor like hammer and be throwing that around at pretty early level.
Yeah. I will say. Oh,
okay. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, that was one of my favorite parts about the Unearthed Arcana version was that to me, it was one of the few ways you could make a legitimate knife thrower. At least before the latest class options, Unearthed Arcana, where it's like, all right, I've got 2 daggers, both of them with returning, which makes them magic weapons, which gives me that extra attack plus the bonus attack, and now I get a legitimate number of attacks with these weapons, and they return to me. And so my one artificer that I got to play once, that's how they rolled, was throwing daggers, returning.
That's pretty cool.
Daggers. Yeah, it's fun, very fun.
I like throwing axes that come back at you from an old time game called Times of Lore. Just got me addicted to the concepts. Okay, let's get into the actual subclasses themselves. Right. Clearly, the Artificer as a class in general is extremely powerful to me. Yeah, I don't think that's a problem because it's D&D. It's not PvP.
Sure. Yes.
So the Alchemist, how are we feeling about the Alchemist? The only thing that burns me inside, and I know it's wrong, but like I wish the Alchemist's final ability was to clone.
For one, right? Yeah, I do think that I'm sad about the homunculus. Like I know you can take it as an infusion, but it's because of the way it's like. All right, I can't see an artillerist or a battlesmith give up their bonus action for it compared to their.
Yeah.
So I am really sad about that. And I don't know if that's a feedback thing where people were like, I don't care. Like, why is this, why are alchemists and homunculus tied together? And to me, I'm like, that makes perfect sense.
It makes perfect sense to me. I think there was quite a bit of a hubbub I saw on the forums about why do alchemists have homunculus? And it made perfect sense to me. And I am in, I guess, the minority of how I felt about that one.
We're in similar company though with each other because I felt the same way. It's like, I don't know, because maybe you grew one in a weird organ in your body and then surgically removed it from yourself, or you took like a bunch of elemental clay and you baked it in an oven and created a little person.
There's all kinds of like you added chemicals to like a mandrake root. Now it walks around and that's your
you soaked it.
Or you had a quado.
Exactly. Mutation. Yeah, sure. It occasionally pops off. I don't know. So I thought it was fine. So it's one of those things where in my mind I'm immediately house ruling and going like, I think for me I would not, if I had an alchemist who was like, man, really would take the homunculus, it sucks I have to use one of my infusions for it, I'd be like, nah buddy, and we'll just call it even, or keep it in infusion but give it something that makes alchemists better at it, or like maybe something like maybe they're, I don't know, alchemical savant, or their features that let them add the damage or healing apply through that as well, whereas say the others might not. So I don't know. Those are some ways that I might address.
You could technically give your experimental elixir, which we'll talk about here pretty soon, to your homunculi.
Certainly,
So you could give it a little bit of a boost there.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Experimental elixir is basically, I believe, what is kind of replacing it, but you don't really know what you're making. It's a little strange to me. It's fun because you don't know what kind of day you're going to have.
Certainly.
And certainly like the healing, the swiftness, the resilience, the boldness, the flight, the transformation, these are all, really good effects and usable. I gotta say, I'd be pretty sorely tempted to make this now a roll, but I think this does kind of forced you into a position of actually trying all of these. So that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, I do. I appreciate the randomness of it. And what I might do is it's random, but you can recreate ones you've already rolled. And that might be, I'm not sure how that play out at the table, but that's sort of where I'd start.
Right.
Where it's like, yeah, you don't know yet. You're first off, when you get this, you're still a relatively, you're just an alchemist that's starting out, really.
That's a good point. You're making mistakes.
You're making mistakes, but okay, all right, I got the swiftness one. All right, I can always make that one. And maybe you work with your dungeon master, go like, here are 3 just random ingredients that we could call or whatever, or it's worth, I don't know, 50 gold pieces of stuff, if you want to apply some kind of cost to it. But I'd be tempted to increase the number that we're on there, so that if it were random, it'd be like, roll a d20, like at least there might be some crazy stuff that comes up on here, or something like 2d6, and that with the bell curve you have like healing, some self buffs in the middle, like 6, 7, and 8. 12 and 2, or maybe like invulnerability.
Yeah, right.
or something like that. It's like you might get something that's really good.
Yeah. Like, I mean, it really showing up to the wild mage.
Yeah. And it's just fun. It could just be a case of like, you're throwing together. It's experimental. You're throwing together whatever you have at hand to make something.
Yeah.
And really, what we're talking about here is that there's not a way to make potions more reliably and easily, except like there's some stuff in Xanathars, but I don't know. Right. If I was an alchemist, especially, I would want to nail down what can I make with alchemy supplies? How easy is it to make acid, fire, whatever else I might be able to make, and how much of it do I have to cart around, or can I do it? Sort of, is there a portable alchemy lab of some kind?
It is interesting though that you can now, whenever you at 5th level as the alchemist, you can now add your intelligence modifier to any damage rolls or healing, and those are damage rolls that deal not just poison now, but like acid was already in there, but fire and necrotic. So this is like a lot more functional. I mean, I don't know how this applies to something like Toll the Dead, but use your imagination.
But it's nice with Healing Word. Is sort of how I'm looking at it. It's that when you combine with a Healing Word, now Mass Healing Word, maybe not so much, but also like thinking about it in terms of later on spell storing item, and being able to give non-spell casting members in your party access to a 1st or 2nd level spell up to 10 uses, right? So I start thinking of things like Flaming Sphere for your fighter, or something that doesn't necessarily require concentration for your barbarian. Things that free up some, use someone else's concentration slot, and have a more party focused kind of approach to your magic items. Because I do think it's like, I love the idea of the Artificer that just buffs themselves. They're like Iron Man kind of.
Right.
But I also think about most of these in terms of which character in the party would I give this to, especially with like spells.
That's kind of the heart of what is fun for the Artificer for me in general, is that you can just decide to give your magical items to somebody else.
Yeah.
But like you can decide to be, maybe you split them evenly between you and another character, especially if you're playing like 2 characters that are like couple or married or whatever. You have like an Iron Man moment with Rescue at the end of Endgame. Spoilers, you should have already watched it.
Come on, guys. It's like 12 years ago already.
Come on. It's 12 years ago in internet time. At 9th level now gets really powerful, because no matter what elixir that you made, it heals. Which is like, okay, well, now they're all very useful no matter what.
Right.
Some are going to heal like crazy. And you can cast lesser restoration, like it's,
probably more times than it's going to come up in your average adventuring day. And it's one of those things where the alchemist is, I mean, all of them have support roles that they can perform, but to me the alchemist is the most support focused, because of the heal, because of this the more restorative,
they can raise dead,
right, yes, all kinds of crazy things. So
and then its capstone is 15th level. You gain resistance to acid damage and poison damage. You're immune to the poison condition.
Yeah.
You can cast Greater Restoration and Heal without expending spell slots. It's a decent capstone ability.
Clone though would be.
I really would love. I would have loved Clone. I would have loved Clone so much.
Yeah.
At 15th level, you can now.
Yeah, a symbol of vat of creation.
Because I feel like that is like the final thing, right? Like that's the thing. Like I learned it. I did the Frankenstein thing, and maybe it can take a lot of different. It could have taken a lot of different things.
Yeah, but to me, that's worth an infusion. Like creating true life, like real life, is to me that might be worth an infusion.
That's an easy solution right there, right? Like make an infusion, and that makes it really interesting because you could literally like create a clone of yourself, but the clone is a robot.
Ooh, yeah. Now we're getting weird. Now let's get weird.
Yeah, things get weird there. So I don't know.
I created a flesh column out of my previous clone.
I'm just saying, Unearthed Arcana infusion clone. You don't get it till like what 17th level, 16th,
16th level. Yeah.
Come on, that is an easy fix. That's an easy fix.
And that's it's the benefit of having features like say what Warlock gets or here what Artificer gets. It's like, is there something missing? Then guess what? There's an easy way. Make it a choice that the player makes by one of their limited, resources to customize their character.
Yeah, I think that's a very good solution for that. Artillerist is just for if you want to play the cowboy, if you want to play someone who is using a weapon. I've never understood that people were confused by the concept of all of that, especially when it was in Unearthed Arcana. I always understood, I'm like, your magical device, your focus for all your spells can be a firearm. Like, and that's why the original Artificer UA, that had like the Thunder Cannon and all that stuff. I'm like, well, this is way more interesting. You can shoot a fireball out of a gun. No fireball. We don't need a whole new system, but we're getting both with the Artillerist here.
Yeah,
because
just bring it back around to chainmail.
Some people were not a huge fan of the turret. I think turrets are adorable, but now the turret is kind of your Eldridge Cannon for all intents and purposes, and functions exactly the same way.
Small characters can't ride it anymore, which is.
Oh, that's too bad.
But I like the idea of first off, I love the idea of a wooden cannon that you just, they're real. They are not fake. But like, it's like a leather cannon or any other kind. And I just love the idea of give me a few minutes. I'm going to whittle down this tree and carve it out. But it also, to me, this is like easily reskinned as the Wand Mage.
Yes.
Which to me was like one of the real iconic Eberron classes. I had a real fun campaign where I was the player that played the wizard that caused all the problems, but there was an artificer in the party as well. We really got up to a lot of trouble. It took the wand expert. It was like 3 wands in each hand kind of business, and it doesn't get that crazy, but you can still have a wand in one hand and your arcane firearm in the other. And to me, that's what I want. This is a blaster artificer. I'm happy. I'm satisfied. Love it.
I mean, your cannon can still have legs, which is crazy.
I can. Yeah, I can.
A little cannon just on 2 legs, just walking around.
Animated all the ammunition with tiny servant, so it just like followed little powder kegs and cannonballs that are marching behind. It's like Looney Tunes.
It is interesting. It is interesting for like setting up a trap too, right? Like if it's 60 feet away, I mean, clearly it can kind of aim, I would assume. So you can just have your Eldritch Cannon up above, and you're holding your hand up, but your gun, you're remote controlling your gun. I mean, you can do the Predator thing now. Right, like you can have the little Predator cannon that is just like
gonna be excited.
Yeah, so this works for a whole bunch of genres.
yeah, and I can remember thinking of it when it was a turret. I was a little like just the name turret. That's all. I mean, and to me, it's completely sad. Eldridge Cannon, that's fine. It's whatever.
Yeah. You know, I think this is largely just reflavoring.
Yeah. But I thought it would be cool as sort of like almost like an animate rune that follows you around. If you were like a rune priest, it's sort of like you carve it in air, and it kind of that's how I was thinking of reflavoring it.
So at 5th level, you know how to turn your wand, staff, or rod, or arcane firearm into a conduit for destructive spells.
My evoker's jealous.
Yes.
By the way. What? Don't go carving on my staff. Anyway.
When you cast Artificer spell through the firearm, roll a d8, and that's the bonus you get to the spell's damage rolls.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
That's pretty nice. I like that. I really like that. And like I said, my evoker's sort of like, something like that would be really fun. Like, what I like about this is it's showing us all the different ways that you can mess with spell focus. Yeah. Like, to me, components, spell foci, all that is very much untapped territory for customization and stuff. So I like seeing those options with the Artificer.
This is a better fireball. Like, you're the Artificer. It takes me till 9th level to get there. Sure. But like, I have an accelerant that like, and your fireball is like so much faster. Like,
we found special bats that we make the material components out of.
Actually, use a tiny flaming skull that we load into the cannon and shoot it.
Right. We traveled all the plane of minerals to get this sulfur.
Yeah. He can be real snooty about like the Artificer that explains everything to everybody. Yeah.
Exactly.
So arcane firearms. If you're looking for that gunslinger, I think you have it here. Explosive cannon at 9th level. You do even more damage.
Sure.
As an action, you can actually detonate it, which I've seen that. I don't know. I'm pretty sure Farscape the series detonated more blasters than actually shot them. I certainly didn't when I played the Star Wars RPG. I was like, right. I'm gonna set my pistol to explode and throw it at people. It seemed like the thing to do.
Yeah.
Any Farscape fans know what I'm talking about. And John Cryan destroyed his own blaster more than he actually... Well, except for Winona. Random Winona Ryder reference. So after that, Exploding Cannon's pretty cool. Fortified position, 15th level.
Half cover, 2 cannons. Nice. This is a capstone for this kind of class here.
Yeah.
And I really like it. And it's also one of those things, like, we didn't really talk about the fact that you can have different kinds of cannons as well, right? There's the flamethrower, the ballista, and the cover. And like, I kind of am intrigued by the idea of the cover Artificer, who's sort of like just behind the second rank, and while they don't have the martial proficiencies of Battlesmith, like, you can make up for this. Hobgoblin might be a good choice for Artificer there to get some martial weapon proficiencies, or even Dwarf or something like that. And like, as a melee support character, I can see it being really, really cool. You just sort of like provide that magical buff from the second rank. So I don't know. I feel like I can't choose between Artillerist and Battlesmith.
I'm having a hard time too. Yeah, because I'm very much I am a creature of inspiration. And I have some lovely art of Eberron as an Artificer with the blunderbuss and the fire blunderbuss that is very much designed after a Chinese design from the Middle Ages. But I do, what is interesting is that I feel like the Artificer in the creation of this has influenced all of the Unearthed Arcana that we're seeing right now, because you can easily play just a group of Artificers.
Yeah. Oh, for real, right?
Yeah. Like, you're fine. You don't need a cleric. You don't need a paladin. You got the smites. You got the healing. You've got pets. You've got like...
it really is. They really have that kind of versatility. It almost even more than the Warlock, it seems. Like, the Warlock has versatility out the, but there are still some things that I wouldn't ask a Warlock to do necessarily. You know what I mean? And I think like I'm not sure that I would have an Artificer tank, but I feel more confident about an all Artificer party than I do an all
warlock. Like it would be interesting also because ideologically, like how does everyone get along when everyone's got a different patron telling them to do different things?
How are they going to do that?
Yeah, celestial warlock.
A bunch of mad scientists in the same party also sounds like trouble.
But the big reveal at the end is that they all have the same patron.
Yes,
it's some god of chaos.
Yeah, you guys it was all great old ones.
Yeah, it was always the old ones. Oh, right. That's a very old ones thing to do. They do have all the stuff.
They can do that. They've been around so long.
So Battlesmith is, you get better armor, right? What am I looking at here? Yeah.
No, you just get the weapons now. I thought you would get like heavy armor. So
no.
Yeah.
Well, they were pretty strong.
Sure. Yeah.
And
this with heavy armor would be nuts.
Yeah. So heroism, shield, branding smite, warding bond I like a lot because it's giving back to the party. It kind of allows you to tank a little bit.
Sure.
Aura vitality, conjure barrage is interesting. Aura purity, fire shield is just always cool. Bashing smite makes a lot of sense. Master your wounds.
Put it on your steel defender. Can you put like fire shield on your steel defender? Do you think?
I would probably.
Let's look at that.
Your body. This is your body.
Yes.
Range of self. Otherwise, wow.
That'd be sweet.
Warding bond, but you can put warding bond on your Iron Defender now. If you're Steel Defender, because Iron Defender already exists. It already exists.
So, but you could give it, like say a fire. No, you can't do fire shield on spell infused because it's higher than second level.
Yeah.
All right.
When you attack with a magical weapon, you gain. You can use your intelligence modifier instead of strength or dexterity. I always love that. I like the intelligent fighter. This is very Iron Man-esque as well, in a sense. If you wanted to have just Iron Man who just pounds people into nothing. Pretty sure. Let's see. Branding smite. Next time you hit a creature with a weapon attack.
I like branding smite.
That is a weapon attack, my friends. That is not a melee attack.
Yeah. So that's your repeating crossbow. In case you missed, that's. I really like that. And because it's second level, you can put it at an infused item, give it to someone else in the party. So like fighters can get that smite, let them deal with the concentration on it.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? So I really like that we're seeing smites outside of the paladin, if only because I rarely see them used by paladins. I wonder why. And so like all I know is that I play a ranger and I would love to have some smites. Like, come on.
You're getting them.
Yeah. Come on.
We've talked about it. It's
can't get here fast enough.
Yeah, it's gonna be a while. So you get the Steel Defender. It's got its own stats. This was a personal ask of mine. It's always been kind of like conceived as a dog, but I'm like, I want it to look like anything. I don't know if anyone heard my voice whining at Wizards of the Coast very loudly, but this is lovely because now you can have like IG-88, just like as your backup. It's got decent skills. Does it scale though?
It scales. Yeah, it scales
like scale a little bit.
Others, yeah. And it's got Might of the Master, so as your proficiency bonus increases, so does it's sort of like skill, saving throws, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I want to say there's another thing that advances as you advance, but I can't.
Wait, is the extra attack exclusive to this class now?
Yes, they took. They removed the extra attack when you were using a magic weapon, which I loved. I loved that ability because it was just so simple, but spoke so much to what the class was about.
Right.
And while it didn't make sense for every type of artificer,
right. On for an alchemist.
Yeah.
Unless you think of it like I took a bunch of Mountain Dew.
Right. Yeah.
I'm super hyped up.
My magic weapons are coated caffeine paste, so I can throw more acid
on the hilt.
So
when you poison the hilt of your sword,
self-poison. But Battlesmith is the only one that gets it now. So I hope that we don't see the end of extra attack being tied to very specific things,
right?
That reinforce kind of.
I get that with the artillerist as well. I think that does make sense. Don't make me regret being able to cast Fireball And well, you could have had 2 attacks. I'm like, I'm not going to do 2 attacks. I have Fireball.
But you got Fireball and then a bonus action from your Eldritch Cannon.
And really, you're getting the best of it because you're getting that bonus from the Eldritch Cannon, right?
Yeah.
So it might as well be another attack.
Yeah, thematically, it's,
Yeah, mathematically, the Artillerist still comes out on top on this. It's still doing good.
Yeah. I think we skipped past their bonus spells, but it's a great list. I love it.
Oh, the Artillerist?
Yes.
Yeah. Shield. Yeah, shield. Why I don't need armor. Thunder Wave, Scorching Ray, Shatter, Fireball, Wind Wall, Ice Storm, Wall of Fire, Cone of Cold, and Wall of Force.
Yeah, it's fun. And what I love is that like Thunder Wave and Shatter are on there, which means they're first and second level, which means you can give them a spell storing item to say like your fighter or paladin that traditionally have a tough time against mobs. And boom, there you go.
That reminds me of Halo Reach, where you could like just hit the ground with your fist and you create a temporary shield bubble for everyone.
Yes.
Sorry,
let them worry about the getting.
I was a game journalist for 10 years, guys. You're not getting away from the video game references for me. Battle ready, Steel Defender. We talked about that extra. Now, Arcane Jolt is still great. You can channel this, I believe, still through your weapon. Am I correct? And also your Steel Defender, so you can channel an extra 2d6 force damage that can hurt just about anything. Very few things are immune to that. Choose one creature or object you can see within 30 feet. Healing energy flows towards them. I do like this versatility of like doing damage or doing healing.
It really is the more I look at it, like when Battlesmith first came out in Unearthed Arcana, I was sort of like, it felt like it overlapped a lot with the Artillerist. It's like, okay, we've got 2 very combat oriented
I can see that
style of Artificers, but the more I think about it, the more I sort of see how it can be just reflavored, used, and everything. I really like it, and I really sort of see it as like, man, this is. I want to see like a combo of a Battlesmith and a Rune Knight. As you know what I mean? Like
it's a very easy sell. No, I'm not unaware of. I'm not unaware of Rune Knight / Artificer. I'm terrified of it.
Oh yeah, right. There's a lot of synergy there. Yeah.
Both intelligence is already a part of it. You're inscribing runes onto things.
Oh my god! All right, okay.
So I really think of an Asgardian Thor Loki-esque, character who not only who does treat magic as technology is magic, kind of like doing the big dive into that. So you can start using deflecting damage and all kinds of stuff. You kind of become a nightmare pretty quick.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Even if you do a 3rd level dip.
Yeah.
Right, and you are Battlesmith.
Still, yeah.
You get big. You've got 2 runes that you are also using.
Okay. All right. You sold me. I gotta do this. I gotta do this now. All right. That's
you kind of have
Artificers.
You kind of have Ant-Man, right? Like you kind of get Ant-Man out of that. Right? Like the reason you can become giant, you can say like, well, it's not even the rune. It's a rune, but when I turn it this way, and then like electricity goes into it, I get big.
Yes.
So
I found the master rune. You can do all kinds of things with it.
You become giant, man. It's pretty fun. Improved Iron Defender is decent. You get the 4d6 instead of 2d6. It gets an armor class bonus. Whenever it uses your intelligence modifier plus a 1d4 as well. So I do feel that this scales pretty well. We do have some questions, unless you have anything else.
No, I think we can dive right in. The rest, to me, the rest of Artificer is icing on the cake, other than the increased attunement slots, I love those. I love that they just get 6 of them and kind of go walk around with them. But
that just gets nuts.
I'm happy to take questions though.
It makes you so much powerful.
Yes.
I'm a little concerned how powerful. If you're making saving throws that well, but you're armored up and tough. How do you feel about the scaling for the Battlesmith's Steel Defender? In the end, it's a pet. I'm always happy if a pet even does scale.
Sure.
I'll be completely honest.
Yeah. I think it'd be one of those things where if I had an Artificer with Steel Defender and upgrading it and the like was really important, I would probably create a simple add-on upgrade system where they could, they get the base scaling, but it's like, all right, I want armor spikes to it, so it like does a damage whenever someone tries to attack it, or I want to create a new chassis for it so that it moves faster, has a different movement type, burrow or fly or something. I might allow that. That sounds like a quest. That sounds like an adventure to, get these materials, learn how to do it from this person, craft the thing. Sounds like a reward for an artificer who's, created something special and unique.
Right. Yeah.
That's how I play it.
Weird question. How do you feel about, I gotta ask, what would be the best use of wish with an artificer? Artificers would never get wish.
Yeah. Like if you got it from, you could get it from something else, I suppose.
Yeah, you can get it from something else, but like I don't know what I would wish for. That would drive me insane.
The ability, the spellcasting ability of a 20th level wizard.
I mean, certainly that could be an infusion, right? Like you can create one infusion at like 19th level or 18th, 17th level.
Sort of like Mystic Arcanum.
Exactly. That allows you to cast 1/9 level spell or below. That gets pretty interesting. So then you have a device that creates wish. I would say it'd be like the size of a 3-story building.
You guys could be gigantic.
And you've got to pull all the levers, right?
Right.
And you have to make it specific to the wish. That's how I would do that, right? Like the device has to be.
It looks like a Dr. Seuss machine.
Yeah, like if you want to go back in time, it's going to look totally different. If it's going to be like, I want to cast clone. So that could get really fun.
Yeah,
this is like the feature I need in Unearthed Arcana right now. Is this infusion?
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I do. Excuse me. I think otherwise I would just wish for a bunch of unique materials to make a lot of really cool stuff out of. Like if I was in a campaign, I didn't want to disrupt everything immediately. I do it slowly with a lot of unique magical materials.
Yeah. Artificers do it slowly.
Right.
Question: what do you think about the removal of the Archivist subclass? I don't know that the Archivist necessarily fit into the world of Eberron, but I think the Archivist subclass is fantastic and maybe my favorite Artificer subclass to exist in UA. I don't know if we are going to see it again later on, but I personally felt it was so strong. I don't know. It seemed like a very strong Unearthed Arcana.
I can see it fitting in Eberron only insofar as like a certain class of scholar that arises studying living spells.
Right.
And you know what I mean? Like they travel into the Mordenland. They study these spells that have attained sentience and a will outside of their caster. I could see that, but that's a stretch. It's not, you'd be creating something new, I think. I liked it as a concept, like arcane intelligence.
Very
really cool.
Planescapey. Arcane intelligence. You have that kind of Jarvis kind of.
Or like Memer, like if you're familiar with Dresden Files, Bob,
right.
Or you played like Planescape Torment, the Skull.
The Skull, is a great example of that.
I hope it comes back. It was really cool.
Yeah,
I thought it was really awesome. Maybe in a I think there's space for non-Eberron specific Artificer stuff, but now that we've got it, you might start seeing that at least through DM's Guild, if not official channels.
This is a big question. What do you think about the approachability of content for new players who grew up with things like World of Warcraft instead of Lord of the Rings? They look at races such as kobolds and goblins without being punished for the desire in a more traditional setting and more core setting for D&D. It is funny. Like old school D&D, goblins were bad and orcs were bad, and that's how it was. Warcraft does have a little bit of that in it, I would say. I think D&D is what you make it, and so you don't have to. You can make your own setting. You don't have to do something in the Forgotten Realms, or you could just say you're somewhere else in the Forgotten Realms.
Yeah, I play Forgotten Realms as if orcs, goblins, and the like are as the same way as like elves, dwarves, and the like. It's kind of how I played it.
And I get this sentiment of like, I don't want to play a goblin and people making fun of me for being a goblin all the time. That is not something I want to do. I want to play a goblin that's like weird, like a barbarian goblin with like 20 strength. Awesome. And I'm still tempted by the my goblin concept of a my goblin rune knight who becomes large.
big goblin needs to happen.
Big goblin is so scary.
Yeah.
Like makes the hobgoblins uncomfortable. Like
yeah, I'm playing is mechanically it's a bugbear, but it's really 3 goblins in a suit.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. I feel like I love the more monstrous races and the like of modern D&D, right?
Yeah.
New school D&D. I like tieflings and dragonborn, and I've seen
dragonborn.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of different kinds of elves, and they're all very similar. And like, unless there's some sort of like weird baby eating space alien elves, I'm not interested. But you give me bog standard dragonborn, I'm like, all right, tell me more. So for me, it's not a hard sell for me, and I think you do it by just a relentless push. Like that's how drow become part of the player's handbook. Everybody wants to play one.
Yeah.
And so if you are able to play a goblin or something, if you have a DM who's like, man, does it fit my world? It seems weird. People are, NPCs are going to make fun of you or whatever. Then I think that's a conversation to have with the DM and go like, oh, maybe that'd be all right to deal with every now and then. But like, I'm interested in playing a goblin mechanically for these reasons. So can I just be a weird halfling, or I'm interested in playing a goblin for a goblin, in which case maybe I'm just the only one, or maybe there's a small community of us who are goblins who are not hated or something.
Well, my wife's character started off as a rock gnome, but she wasn't happy. Like she didn't want to be like this cute gnome. She wanted to be something a little even weirder. So she calls it a noblin. She's part goblin, part gnome.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And noblin, I'm awesome. Like that needs to become canon.
Yes, absolutely.
Very, very creepy. I think more dangerous, I would say.
certainly. So yeah, there are a lot of people out there where traditional Tolkien-esque fantasy is what they want, but like to me, old school D&D is every time you run across monsters in a dungeon, you make a reaction roll, because sometimes you're going to trade with the orcs, and sometimes you're going to fight them, and sometimes you're going to hire them to deal with the gnolls. And like that's the kind of D&D I like playing, and so that's the kind of D&D I run. And if that's the kind of D&D you like, then it's time to have a conversation with your DM and just be like, hey, goblins are fun, right? If you've seen Labyrinth, they're awesome.
Yeah. Oh my god. Labyrinth is a wonderful example of how fun goblins can be, and like how much more interesting of a universe that can be. Also, I gravitate towards the Mos Eisley of Star Wars, right? This is where the Mandalorian so much. I'm like, I'm not really interested in like the, we're heroes, and I have long, flowing blonde hair, and I'm like,
sure, yeah.
No, I want the goblin hero. Those are the stories I want now.
Yeah. I like them. I've played several goblin characters just to sort of stick with the kind of the weird one. They're small, that kind of thing. To me, kobold is a tough fit just because of their smallness. But I think there's a lot of fun ways to look at kobolds as being part of the world. The real challenge is whether you can do that with like intelligent undead and stuff.
Right.
And like that's the Warcraft one that like we've got revenants, but I guess the closest we've got is there's some kobold press stuff that have like ghouls, Empire of the Ghouls things. But go for it. Play the kind of D&D you want.
Yeah.
Argue for it. Yeah.
It is your D&D. Like you can literally do anything you want.
and if this is how I was, like if you have a DM that just won't let you, then it might be time to run the game you wish you could play in.
Exactly. And that is actually kind of the seed of many a dungeon master is like we played in games and we're like, okay, I certainly had a good time. However, I apologize. My Slack is making a lot of noise, everyone.
Yeah. But that's that. My current homebrew: no elves, no dwarves, no humans, no halflings, no gnomes. It's all monsters, baby.
Yeah.
And
fun times. Early D&D actually had a supplement that spoke to that, and it was for basic D&D, not AD&D at the time, which was geared for younger audiences, and they actually had a rule set which I bought for playing goblins and orcs. That was the first one.
Yeah.
And that was like pretty crazy. And people are like, "What are you talking? You want to play a goblin?" I'm like, "Because I do."
Yeah, because it's fun. Yeah.
Everyone does. Everyone wants to play Hoggle. That's about it for our show. I know we have more questions. One question was like, can dragon marks, can any race use dragon marks? I haven't looked hard. I haven't had a hard look on dragon marks. That depends on the wording. If it says no, then it says no.
Yeah, if you're talking like Canon, Eberron, the Dragon Mark houses do have requirements for different ancestries and the like.
Right.
But the fun thing about Dragon Marks is that they're eminently portable to your campaign as a way to like add on an extra layer of magic to your world, and you can do whatever you want with them then. Or say in your Eberron, we do it differently because that's how you want to play it.
Yeah, and let's see, we're no longer seeing double proficiencies as well. I'm like, well, I gotta tell you, artificers shouldn't be good at everything.
Yeah, they already get like expertise in all tools,
right?
So like that's in disguise kits, alchemy kits, herbalism kits. Like look through thief tools. Yeah, just look through Xanathar's guides and see all the cool things they can make with their blanket expertise. So
yeah, let's not make them full bards. Bards.
Yeah,
I can sing a clone into existence.
Right. That's kind of cool, actually. Oh.
What do you have to sing to make a clone? Well, our time is up on that. That's an interesting question, but that's another show for just me and Jim to be talking about. Thank you so much for watching Todd Talks. Thank you, of course, Jim Davis. He is one of the many heads of WebDM. You should check out their stuff. They have a YouTube channel. They have Patreon. You should check out all of those things. It's extremely informative content, very, very long, in a good way that explains stuff so very well for those who are new to D&D. So definitely check out WebDM, where they sell it in all stores. WebDM,
all stores.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for watching, everyone.